Hello and welcome to this episode of Altitude, where you get to hear career talks from executives, technical people, persons in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math. So sit tight, we have a great show ahead for you. And with us today, our first guest is Elizabeth Adams. How are you doing, Elizabeth?
I am excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. I know that we've been trying to get you on the show for quite a while.
Yes.
You have a very important job, and the three areas that we talk about are your career, your education, your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we talk a little bit about who you are today? What is your career?
Sure. So currently, right now, I work at Thomson Reuters. I'm a technical integration manager. So I get to work at the intersection of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. Very
Really?
Fascinating.
Yes. Hot industries.
Absolutely.
Hot degrees, hot everything.
Yes.
Very good.
Yes.
So within your normal day, what role do you play, or what is a typical day like for you?
So if we think about the two tracks, so from a cybersecurity perspective, I get to work in mostly technical engagement, technical integration. So I work on a lot of mergers and acquisitions, kind of understanding what our security posture is for companies that we purchase. And from an artificial intelligence perspective, I work with small working groups to help develop our AI principles for the company.
Oh my goodness.
Fascinating.
Oh, I bet.
And I love it.
Yeah, one of the things we're trying to do is, getting students exposure to advancing and emerging technologies, right? Putting it in the hands of the students. But the industry that you're in and the role that you play right now are very fascinating, and that is one of our endpoints. So fascinating, thank you. Let's roll over a little bit and talk about, okay, you're doing this fantastic work at this high-end technology, but did you, when you were a little girl, you don't mind me saying that, did you ever dream you're going to be this fantastic technologist?
Of course not. Of course not. As a matter of fact, when I was 12, I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to help people. Yeah. And so now I actually get to through technology. So part of the work that I do is considered ethical tech design, which means building in ethics in the entire life cycle of technology, from the design phase all the way to the execution phase, and then understanding what the impacts are on communities that we serve. So I get to look across the whole spectrum and kind of make sure that we're doing the right things.
That's fantastic. So what type of education, or can you tell us a little bit, how would we get, or like our students in the audience and persons that might be returning or want to get into cybersecurity, what type of education should they pursue, or how would a high school student pursue where you're at today?
Well, that's a good question, because my journey was a little bit different. My undergrad from Bethel University right here in St. Paul, Minnesota, is in business management. And so I started in technology really as a business person, so helping the business understand the technology. I then went on to get a number of certifications, and then also went on to get a graduate certificate in leadership development. So I think there are many, many different routes that people can go. I would absolutely suggest that people consider a certification first, see if it's something that they want or that they're interested in.
But you've completed other degrees, right? So you got certificates.
Yep.
Okay, and then you pursue other leadership certificates.
Absolutely.
And degrees,
Yeah, and I have a diversity and inclusion certificate from Cornell. So it really just depends on where you want to go. For me, my curiosity was really in technology, but I wanted to always make sure that we were doing the right thing, so that there was an understanding with the business as well as the technology. So I've always kind of kept myself in the middle.
And that's a really good point, because one of the things that we coach our students on is that there are different pathways. Like in my generation, you had to have the 4-year degree. It was almost like a high school diploma.
Yep.
But today there are so many people pursuing certifications, locally, remotely, online. And so I think it's important for them to know that you want to pursue your passion, and then you must have the certifications really in the technical field to get ahead.
I agree totally. So the business management degree got me in the door. Then I started working on other certifications, a PMP. I have an Agile Scrum Master certification.
So PMP is project management.
Thank you. Yeah, project management professional certification. And so all of these kind of help me insert myself into the technology process.
Very good. So here you are, you have this fantastic education pathway. You're working in a great career for a great company. So you have all these wonderful things in your life. What do you do for fun?
Well, for one, I love to tell jokes. I absolutely love to laugh. But aside from that, I love to travel. So I have been, in the past 2 years, I've been all over the world. I've been to Bali and London and Paris and Santiago, Chile and Japan and Canada and Mexico. I have had a ball traveling and learning different cultures. And all of that, honestly, it brings back to the work that I do because it helps me have an understanding for the different perspectives and value the different perspectives from all of the technical teams that I get to work with.
And if I could just back up, you work with a lot of technical teams. One thing I didn't touch on with your career was, do you do any global team management? Have you done anything else?
I have.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll let you elaborate, but our students also need to hear from people about they have to have the interpersonal skills, the communication skills to be able to work virtually on the phone.
That's right.
As well as do video conferences. So before we break, I don't want to leave this conversation without, can you share a little bit about your global team or virtual team?
Yeah, so I have global colleagues, but I did work for the Department of Defense a few years ago, and I had teams all over the world. I had teams in Africa and teams in South America, teams in Europe, and we worked to ensure that the military personnel had all the information that they need from a technical perspective. And so it was very challenging because you're working in different time zones, and very, very important work. So soft skills are absolutely important because if you're not directly working with someone, you still need to convince them that there's a shared vision, right? And convince them that we need to work together to get the job done.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is just an incredible interview. We're looking forward to you coming out to maybe one of our schools or speaking at one of our events. But before we break, is there anything you want to share with our audience?
I would say, people ask me all the time what I would tell my younger self. And what I would say to my younger self is really follow your curiosity. That's how I ended up in ethical tech design. That's how I ended up in cybersecurity. That's how I ended up in AI. Because I just started following my curiosity and finding out what was happening in those fields, and then figuring out a path to inclusion for myself. So follow your curiosity.
Well, there you go. So thank you very much for joining this episode of Altitude.
Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.